Have you ever stopped to think about how your actions might be affecting your relationships as you age? It's a question that many of us, especially as we move into our 70s and beyond, might not consider often enough. Yet, it's crucial. As we grow older, some habits, though well-intentioned, can unintentionally push people away instead of drawing them closer. In today's video, we'll explore 6 behaviors that might be subtly affecting your relationships, whether with your children, grandchildren, or even friends. These habits can impact your happiness, self-esteem, and emotional well-being without you even realizing it. Stick with us until the end, and we'll not only identify these behaviors but also show you how small shifts in your actions can lead to stronger, more fulfilling connections with the people who matter most. Before we begin, I would appreciate it if you like this video. You can help me continue to spread the old age lesson. If you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. If you like this video, please comment number 1. If you don't like it, comment number 0 to let me know, so I can make a better video for you. Now let's get started. 1. Lack of personal hygiene. Let's begin with a topic that can often feel uncomfortable to discuss, but is incredibly important: personal hygiene. For many older adults, such as Harold, a 75-year-old retired mechanic from Chicago, keeping up with daily hygiene routines can become increasingly difficult as time goes on. Harold, who used to take great pride in his appearance, always dressing neatly and making sure he was well-groomed, now finds it harder to maintain those habits. Once the person who greeted the world with a firm handshake and a friendly smile, he now faces challenges like chronic back pain, constant fatigue, and a growing sense of isolation. These issues have made something that once came naturally a struggle for Harold, particularly in the area of personal care. Over time, Harold's belief that no one notices his appearance anymore has contributed to him letting go of the grooming habits he once held dear. Unfortunately, this is a common experience for many seniors, and the reasons behind it are varied. For Harold, it's not just the physical challenges like arthritis that make simple tasks such as bathing, brushing teeth, or changing clothes feel like insurmountable efforts, but also emotional and psychological factors. After the passing of his wife, Harold quietly battles feelings of depression and loneliness, which have significantly diminished his motivation to take care of himself. These feelings of isolation and the belief that no one is paying attention to his appearance only make the situation more challenging. For some seniors, there's an underlying belief that, as they age, their appearance no longer matters as much. They may think to themselves, "Who's going to notice?" This line of thinking is not uncommon. However, it's important to understand that personal hygiene is about so much more than appearance. It plays a significant role in how others perceive us, it affects our self-esteem, and most importantly, it has serious implications for our physical health. Take, for example, Harold's situation. Infrequent bathing, wearing the same clothes repeatedly, and neglecting to brush his teeth or go to regular dentist appointments have led to unpleasant odors, visible signs of neglect, and a change in the way Harold feels about himself. These hygiene issues may even make loved ones, like his daughter Emma, hesitant to visit him as frequently as they once did, which only deepens Harold's sense of isolation. Furthermore, neglecting hygiene doesn't just lead to social discomfort, it can have dire health consequences. Inadequate dental care, such as skipping regular brushing or dentist visits, can result in painful infections or even more serious health complications. The impact of poor hygiene goes far beyond simply making one uncomfortable. It increases the risk of infections, skin conditions, and illnesses that can negatively affect an individual's overall health and quality of life. In Harold's case, he recently developed a painful skin irritation that his doctor traced back to poor hygiene, something Harold would have never imagined happening to him. The experience left him embarrassed and even more withdrawn, further pushing him away from maintaining a routine that could improve his situation. So, what can be done to help individuals like Harold? The good news is that small, manageable changes can make a world of difference. For Harold, the turning point came when his grandson, Jake, helped him create a simple daily routine. Jake wrote it down and pinned it to the bathroom mirror, serving as a reminder that he could follow each day. Additionally, investing in easy-to-use tools, such as a long-handled brush for showering or no-rinse cleansing wipes, made personal care feel more manageable and less daunting. Harold even started setting aside time each week for self-grooming, turning these moments into a chance for connection with his daughter, Emma. What once felt like a burdensome chore had now become a shared activity, a way to bond with family while caring for himself. The key takeaway here is that neglecting personal hygiene isn't just about cleanliness. It's about preserving dignity, maintaining health, and nurturing relationships. By addressing the root causes behind the neglect of hygiene and taking proactive steps, older adults like Harold can regain their sense of pride and well-being. These small, thoughtful changes can help strengthen their bonds with the people who matter most and restore a sense of connection to the world around them. 2. Complaining about everything. Let's dive into a topic that many people, especially those in later stages of life, might relate to: complaining. To illustrate this, let's take the story of Margaret, a 74-year-old retired librarian from Boston, as an example. Margaret has always been known for expressing her opinions, whether they're about politics, the changing seasons, or the complexities of modern technology. For years, she would share her thoughts, often with a sense of humor, and her family would listen with mild amusement. However, over time, what started as an occasional gripe evolved into a constant stream of negativity. Family gatherings, which were once a time for laughter and connection, began to feel like an endless series of complaints. Margaret's comments about the state of the government, her dissatisfaction with the lack of handwritten letters in a digital world, and her long-winded rants about the new gadgets her grandchildren loved but she couldn't understand became a familiar part of every visit. At first, her family, particularly her grandson Ben, would laugh it off, thinking it was just part of who Margaret was. "That's just Grandma being Grandma," he'd say, offering a smile as he rolled his eyes. But as time passed, the casual remarks became less funny and more draining. Julie, her daughter-in-law, started to retreat to another room during visits to avoid hearing another tirade. James, her son, found himself shortening phone calls to steer clear of another lecture about the good old days. What had once been vibrant and lively family dinners were now filled with tension and discomfort. The joy of being together was overshadowed by the constant barrage of negativity. Conversations, which used to be a source of connection, became a minefield of frustration and irritation. But why do some older adults, like Margaret, fall into the habit of constant complaining? Often, it's rooted in a deeper sense of frustration, loneliness, or a loss of control over the world around them. As society changes rapidly, it can be overwhelming to feel left behind. For many seniors, the world they once knew is evolving in ways they can't fully grasp, and that creates a feeling of powerlessness. For Margaret, part of the problem was a sense of invisibility. She often felt that her opinions no longer mattered or were disregarded, especially in a world driven by younger voices and fast-paced technology. Complaining became her way of asserting control and making sure she was heard, even if it was only in her own home. The problem, however, is that constant negativity not only strains relationships but can also take a toll on one's emotional health. Studies have shown that frequent complaining can reinforce feelings of dissatisfaction and lead to heightened stress and anxiety. When someone constantly focuses on what's wrong, it becomes difficult to see the good in life. For Margaret, her habit of fixating on her frustrations deepened her sense of unhappiness and isolation. But there's hope. Breaking the cycle of constant complaining isn't just about improving relationships with family and friends. It's also about reclaiming one's sense of joy and well-being. It's about finding a new perspective that fosters positivity and gratitude. Margaret's turning point came one afternoon when Ben, in his candid and straightforward way, said, "Grandma, I love you, but it's hard to spend time with you when you're always upset about something." At first, Margaret was hurt by his words, but after thinking it over, she realized he had a point. Her constant negativity had started to push even those who loved her the most away. Determined to make a change, Margaret decided to try something new. She began a daily practice of gratitude journaling, where she would write down 3 things she was thankful for each evening. These things varied from simple pleasures, like the beautiful sunset outside her window, to more personal moments, such as the fact that Ben still made the effort to visit her. Slowly but surely, Margaret started to notice a shift in her mindset. She began to focus less on what irritated her and more on what brought her joy. Alongside this new practice, Margaret worked on adjusting her approach to conversations. Instead of diving straight into complaints, she started asking her family about their lives, showing interest in their experiences, and finding ways to connect through shared stories and laughter. She found that when she took the time to listen to others, her frustrations started to feel less important. It's not about pretending everything is perfect or ignoring the challenges that come with aging. Rather, it's about creating balance. Acknowledging one's frustrations while also choosing to highlight the positive aspects of life can transform the atmosphere around us. By doing so, older adults like Margaret can foster a more uplifting environment for themselves and those they love. And perhaps in turn, that shift can inspire others to adopt a similar attitude. A family dynamic that once revolved around complaints could now be centered on shared gratitude and joy, proving that it's never too late to make a positive change. If you are still watching this video and finding these lessons useful, please comment number 1 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Thank you for your valuable time. 3. Dominating the conversation. Picture this. Consider this scenario. Frank, a 78-year-old retired professor from Denver, is a man with a wealth of life experiences. Having taught at prestigious universities, traveled to some of the world's most historical landmarks, and rubbed shoulders with brilliant minds in his field, Frank's life has been rich in stories. Family gatherings have become his favorite opportunity to relive those memories. He recounts these moments in vivid detail, often captivating his children and grandchildren with tales of his academic triumphs, his travels, and his encounters with notable figures in his field. However, as much as Frank's stories are fascinating, his tendency to dominate conversations has started to create tension. For instance, during a recent Sunday lunch at his daughter Laura's home, the atmosphere shifted when Frank took over the conversation. Laura's teenage son, Alex, was excitedly sharing details about a school project he was working on, clearly eager to contribute to the conversation. But before Alex could even get to the point of his story, Frank interjected, "That reminds me of the time I gave a lecture at Harvard." What followed was a 15-minute recount of Frank's lecture experience, complete with names of notable colleagues and descriptions of the academic environment at Harvard. As Frank continued, the table became quieter and quieter, with Alex's enthusiasm fading. By the time Frank wrapped up his story, Alex, feeling overlooked, quietly retreated, and the conversation lost its momentum. Frank isn't alone in this pattern of behavior. Many older adults, especially those with a lifetime of experiences to share, feel compelled to take the lead in conversations. Their intentions are often rooted in a desire to teach, to connect with younger generations, or to contribute their accumulated wisdom. They want to pass on their experiences and ensure they remain a valuable part of family interactions. However, the way this is sometimes executed can feel one-sided. The constant interruptions, the tendency to redirect the conversation back to their own stories, or the imposition of their opinions on others can result in younger family members feeling unheard, unappreciated, or even frustrated. But why does this happen? For some, like Frank, dominating the conversation can be a way of asserting their relevance or maintaining a sense of identity in an ever-changing world. The world around them is shifting, with younger generations embracing new technologies and ways of thinking, and to stay connected, older adults may inadvertently take control of the conversation. In other cases, they may not even realize they are doing it, genuinely believing they are enriching the discussion with their experiences. However, the effect can be alienating. Younger family members, especially, might begin to withdraw from these interactions, seeing them less as opportunities for mutual exchange and more as one-sided lectures where they have little space to contribute. The key to addressing this issue is not to silence the storytelling or dismiss the wealth of knowledge older adults have accumulated over the years. Rather, it's about creating an environment where communication becomes a shared experience, one that allows both older and younger family members to participate equally. For Frank, the turning point came during a conversation with his daughter, Laura, after lunch. Laura, feeling the need to address the issue but wanting to do so in a gentle way, said to Frank, "Dad, we love hearing your stories, but sometimes Alex and the others feel like they don't get the chance to share their thoughts." Initially, Frank was defensive. "I'm just trying to connect," he replied, feeling hurt that his storytelling was being criticized. But after some reflection, Frank realized that Laura's point had merit. He didn't want to alienate his family, especially his grandchildren, from sharing their thoughts and experiences. As a result, he decided to adopt a new approach: active listening. The next time the family gathered for dinner, when Alex began talking about his school project, Frank resisted the temptation to interject with a story of his own. Instead, he chose to listen carefully and ask open-ended questions, like, "What's the most exciting part of your project?" Or, "What do you hope to learn from this?" By taking a step back, Frank allowed Alex to express himself fully, and the conversation began to flow more naturally. After Alex had finished sharing, Frank was able to contribute a story that was related to the topic at hand, and the exchange felt more balanced. The shift in communication was remarkable. Not only did Alex appreciate the opportunity to be heard, But Frank also found that his stories were better received when they were shared at appropriate moments, without overshadowing others. By practicing active listening, Frank felt more engaged with his family, and the connections became deeper and more meaningful. Effective communication is, at its core, a two-way street. It's about balancing the wisdom that comes with age with the curiosity to learn from others, regardless of their age. For Frank, the transition wasn't easy, and it took some time to adjust. However, the results were worth it. He discovered that by listening more attentively, he was able to create a more inclusive and enriching conversation, one where everyone's voice was valued. By encouraging a mutual exchange of ideas, older adults like Frank can maintain a strong presence in family interactions while respecting the voices of younger generations. This approach not only strengthens intergenerational relationships but also ensures that their stories are shared in a way that enhances, rather than diminishes, the overall dialogue. 4. Demanding respect based on age. Meet Evelyn, a 76-year-old retired nurse from Atlanta. Evelyn grew up in a time when age was not only a marker of experience but also a symbol of authority. In her generation, younger people were expected to show respect and deference to their elders without question. This cultural norm shaped Evelyn's worldview and her interactions with others. For much of her life, this belief in the importance of respecting one's elders was reaffirmed, earning her admiration and respect from both her children and colleagues. However, as the years passed and societal norms began to shift, Evelyn found herself struggling to adapt to the changing expectations of younger generations. Her grandchildren, including 16-year-old Chloe, were raised in a world where respect was not something automatically granted because of age. Instead, respect was earned through mutual understanding, kindness, and demonstrated actions. This new dynamic left Evelyn feeling increasingly frustrated and confused. At a recent family barbecue, this generational divide became particularly evident. Evelyn was upset when Chloe, who had expressed an interest in a career in graphic design, didn't immediately agree with her opinion about how young people should approach their career choices. "Back in my day," Evelyn remarked, "young people respected their elders without questioning them. You need to learn to listen." To Evelyn's surprise, Chloe, feeling dismissed and unheard, rolled her eyes and walked away, leaving Evelyn feeling hurt and bewildered. Evelyn's situation is not unique. Many older adults, like her, believe that respect should be a given, an automatic right that comes with age. While it's undeniable that older generations bring wisdom, experience, and valuable perspectives, demanding respect without offering it in return can lead to tension, especially with younger individuals who see respect as something that must be earned through actions, rather than simply handed out because of one's age. Chloe's response wasn't an act of disrespect toward Evelyn as a person. Instead, it was a reaction to the one-sided expectation of respect that Evelyn had imposed. To Chloe, respect was not something to be taken for granted. It had to be mutual. This disconnect between Evelyn's expectations and Chloe's perspective highlights a larger generational divide. So, why does this disconnect happen? For older adults like Evelyn, the belief that respect your elders is a steadfast rule is deeply ingrained. It is a value that was instilled in them during their upbringing, and it's tied to their life experiences. However, for younger generations, the concept of respect is evolving. It is increasingly seen as a two-way street, one that requires mutual understanding, empathy, and actions that demonstrate care for one another, not just the acknowledgement of age or status. The impact of demanding respect without earning it can have far-reaching consequences. It can create a wedge between generations, leaving younger people feeling unheard, undervalued, or even resentful. In Evelyn's case, her insistence on receiving respect without considering Chloe's viewpoint led to misunderstandings, straining her relationship with her granddaughter. It also created tension with her son, Mark, who found himself caught in the middle of the situation. Mark loved both his mother and his daughter, but he could see how the lack of mutual respect was eroding their connection. Fortunately, this dynamic can be changed through small but deliberate shifts in perspective. The turning point for Evelyn came when Mark took the time to talk to her after the barbecue. "Mom," he said gently, "Chloe roves you, but she feels like you don't respect her opinions. If you listen to her more, I think she'd be more willing to listen to you." Evelyn, though initially resistant, realized there was truth in her son's words. She decided to try something different. The next time their family gathered for dinner, Evelyn put her judgment aside when Chloe mentioned her plans to pursue a career in graphic design, something Evelyn had previously dismissed as impractical. Instead of launching into a critique, Evelyn took a deep breath and asked thoughtful questions. What excites you about that field? And how do you see yourself growing in that career? To her surprise, Chloe opened up about her aspirations and the vision she had for her future. The conversation flowed more freely, and Evelyn felt a sense of connection she hadn't experienced in months. The lesson here is clear. Respect is not something that can be demanded. It's something that must be earned through genuine actions, empathy, and an authentic interest in others' lives. By showing respect to Chloe and truly listening to her, Evelyn found that the respect she longed for came naturally in return. The relationship between them grew stronger, and Evelyn realized that the bonds she shared with her family were much more meaningful when built on mutual respect. This shift in mindset has a profound impact not only on Evelyn's relationship with Chloe but also on her relationship with other members of her family. By fostering an environment of mutual respect, older adults like Evelyn can cultivate deeper, more meaningful connections with younger generations. In doing so, they ensure that their wisdom is valued and their relationships remain strong, despite the generational divide. If you are still watching this video and finding these lessons useful, please comment number 2 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Thank you for your valuable time. 5. Minimizing others' experiences. Robert, a 72-year-old retired engineer from Dallas, has lived a life full of trials and triumphs. Over the years, he's weathered economic downturns, raised 3 children, and navigated serious health challenges in his 60s. Through it all, he's learned valuable lessons about perseverance, resilience, and hard work. With decades of experience behind him, Robert feels confident in his ability to understand what life's obstacles truly mean. However, when his granddaughter Emily, a 20-year-old college sophomore, recently confided in him about the pressure she's facing while trying to balance her demanding academic schedule, part-time job, and social life, Robert's response was swift and dismissive. He said, "That's nothing. When I was your age, I worked full-time, went to school at night, and still had to take care of my younger siblings. You've got it easy." What Robert didn't fully grasp was how those words made Emily feel. Instead of receiving the empathy and understanding she needed, she felt dismissed. Her struggles were minimized and invalidated as if they weren't worthy of attention or concern. While Robert didn't intend to belittle her, his comment inadvertently downplayed her challenges, leading her to feel like her stress was insignificant in comparison to his past experiences. As a result, she became more hesitant to open up to him about her life in the future. This type of situation is not uncommon among older adults like Robert, who have lived through decades of personal challenges and hardships. From their perspective, the difficulties faced by younger generations might seem trivial or even unimportant. Yet, each stage of life comes with its own set of unique challenges, and what might seem like a small problem to one person can feel incredibly overwhelming to another. In this case, Emily's stress about managing her academic responsibilities alongside her job was just as real to her as Robert's struggles had been when he was her age. So why do older adults sometimes minimize the experiences of younger people? Often, it's not because they want to belittle or invalidate the other person's feelings. Instead, it's a matter of perspective. Older adults tend to draw from their own life experiences to offer context or reassurance, believing that sharing their challenges will help younger people see their problems in a different light. But this approach can unintentionally dismiss the emotions of others, especially if those feelings aren't validated or understood in the same way. The impact of minimizing someone else's experience can be more significant than it may seem at first. When younger people feel unheard, unacknowledged, or unappreciated, it can create emotional distance and prevent them from sharing openly in the future. This was evident in Robert's relationship with Emily. Over time, he noticed that she stopped calling him as frequently, and their conversations became shorter and less personal. Emily no longer seemed willing to open up about the stresses in her life. Worried, Robert reached out to his daughter Lisa for advice. She gently explained the situation, saying, "Dad, Emily feels like you don't take her struggles seriously. She looks up to you, but when you compare her challenges to yours, it makes her feel small and like her problems don't matter." Robert, feeling a deep sense of regret, realized the truth in Lisa's words. He understood that while his intentions were never to minimize Emily's feelings, his actions had led to unintended consequences. Determined to repair their bond, Robert decided to approach things differently the next time Emily confided in him. When Emily once again expressed her frustrations about juggling her responsibilities, Robert resisted the urge to compare her situation to his past. Instead, He chose to focus on her experience and validate her feelings. "That sounds like a lot to handle," he said. "How are you managing everything? Tell me more about what you're going through." The effect was immediate. Emily felt heard, and their conversation took on a more meaningful tone. She opened up about her challenges in a way she hadn't before, and they were able to connect on a deeper level than they had in months. The key lesson here is simple yet profound. Validating others' experiences is crucial for fostering understanding, empathy, and emotional connection. By acknowledging and respecting the feelings of others, especially younger generations, older adults can build trust and create an environment of support. For Robert, the realization that his role wasn't to compare his struggles to Emily's, but to listen, empathize, and offer encouragement, was transformative. He learned that every person's challenges, no matter how big or small, deserve to be taken seriously. Ultimately, everyone wants to feel heard and understood. For older adults like Robert, learning to validate the experiences of younger generations helps bridge the gap between them, strengthening relationships and deepening emotional bonds. By truly listening, they create an atmosphere where meaningful connections can thrive. If you are still watching this video and finding these lessons useful, please comment number 3 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Thank you for your valuable time. 6. Criticizing young people. Linda, a 73-year-old retired small business owner from Portland, had always been proud of her self-reliance and the values she instilled in her children. But lately, she found herself growing increasingly irritated by her grandson Ethan's behavior, especially during family dinners. She often watched him sit at the table, eyes glued to his smartphone, scrolling through his social media or texting friends. It was a habit that seemed to consume him, and Linda couldn't help but feel frustrated. "All they do is stare at screens," she would mutter to her husband Frank after each family gathering. The dinner table, once a place for meaningful conversation and connection, had become a battlefield in Linda's mind, one where the younger generation's obsession with gadgets felt like an unwelcome disruption. One evening, unable to contain her frustration any longer, Linda decided to speak up. "Ethan," she said sharply, her voice cutting through the hum of the dining room, "when I was your age, we didn't waste our time on gadgets. We spent time talking to each other, face to face, and we worked hard for everything we had. You kids are all too distracted by your phones to appreciate what matters in life." Ethan, caught off guard and feeling unfairly criticized, responded with a defensive shrug. "Grandma, it's not like that. I was texting about a project for school," he replied, trying to explain himself. But the tone of the conversation had already shifted, and the tension in the room was palpable. Linda's words, though meant to be constructive, felt like an attack on Ethan, who spent the rest of the meal silently scrolling through his phone. It wasn't because he didn't care about his family, but because he no longer felt comfortable engaging in the conversation. He felt judged and misunderstood. Linda, on the other hand, thought she was simply offering advice, hoping to steer Ethan toward a more meaningful and balanced lifestyle. Like many older adults, she believed her years of experience and wisdom gave her valuable insight that could benefit younger generations. In her mind, her criticism was a form of caring, a way to help Ethan avoid the mistakes she felt her generation had made. But to Ethan, it didn't feel like guidance. It felt like rejection. He couldn't understand why his grandmother couldn't appreciate how technology had become a part of his life, his education, and his social world. As time went on, Linda began to realize that her comments were having an unintended effect. The rift between her and Ethan seemed to grow wider, and the frustration she felt only made things more difficult. It was then that Linda's daughter, Sarah, stepped in. Gently but firmly, she spoke to her mother. "Mom," Sarah said, "I know you mean well, but Ethan feels like you're always criticizing him. He thinks you don't see the good in what he's doing. Maybe instead of focusing on what you don't like, you could ask him why he uses his phone so much or what he's working on." At the next family dinner, Linda took Sarah's advice to heart. When Ethan pulled out his phone, she felt the familiar urge to comment, to voice her disapproval. But instead of saying anything critical, she decided to approach the situation differently. "What's the coolest thing you've learned recently from your phone or online?" she asked, genuinely curious. To Linda's surprise, Ethan's face lit up. He eagerly began to tell her about a new app he had discovered, one that allowed him to learn coding and create his projects. As he shared the details of his experience, the conversation shifted from one of tension to one of genuine interest. Linda was captivated by his enthusiasm and impressed by how much he was learning on his own. For the first time in a long while, she felt like she was truly connecting with her grandson, not through criticism, but through curiosity and understanding. The lesson here is clear. Building strong relationships with younger generations requires patience, empathy, and a willingness to meet them where they are. Older adults like Linda often have valuable advice to offer, but it's important to remember that offering guidance should be done with respect for the experiences and choices of younger people. Instead of criticizing, ask questions. Instead of judging, seek to understand. When Linda shifted from criticizing Ethan's use of technology to showing genuine interest in it, she was able to bridge the generational gap and foster a stronger, more supportive relationship. By adopting this mindset, older generations can create an environment where their wisdom is not only shared but also appreciated. When criticism is replaced with curiosity, the conversation becomes less about what's wrong and more about what's right, about how technology and modern life can bring people together, even when they seem like they are pulling them apart. This approach helps to strengthen family bonds, creating a space where everyone feels heard, respected, and valued. So, what have you learned from today's video? Whether it's about health, aging gracefully, or making smarter life choices, I hope you found something that resonates with you. I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below and share one thing you've learned today and how you plan to bring it into practice in your life. If you like this video, please leave your comment below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more insightful content. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.